How's it going, kids? Brian Alvarez, Young Vincent, and the Iron Sheik here on the Bryan and Vinny Show, actually.
Suplex him, put him in a camel clutch, break his back, and then fuck his ass.
Sorry about that. Sheiky wanted to get introduced, too, as well. So, yeah, we're here on the show. It's Saturday, March 25th, 2006, and we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the SmackDown show from this past evening, and we didn't have Ohio Valley, so yes, kids, we watched Bloodsport.
Oh, yes.
We watched the whole damn movie.
Including the credits.
Yeah, before we actually get into it, I've just got to say one thing that I've just got to say right now after having watched Bloodsport. I watched SmackDown, I watched Raw, I watch Ohio Valley. I'm sort of doing the report on the computer, and I'm watching in the background, and I'm always checking my email and going to the site and seeing if anything's put anything up on the board and that sort of thing. Perpetually distracted during these shows. Not for 1 second was I distracted during Bloodsport. I didn't check my email the entire time that movie was on. I didn't check my email I didn't check the board the entire time. And by the way, don't take any more sips of that pop. No matter what you do, I can hear you putting it down. You'll be fine without it. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. It kept my attention, and it's just as great now as it was in 1987 when I fell in love with it.
We'll talk about it at length, but not only was I not distracted, I wasn't reading anything, I wasn't thinking about anything else, I may not have been breathing in and out. This was awesome.
Such a fine film still, even to this day. I was thinking perhaps, God, I watched it when I was, how old would I have been? 1987, I would have been 12 years old.
Yes.
I watched this when I was 12 years old. Is it still going to be as cool? Is that possible? It's probably going to be shitty. It's probably going to be like Hogan Warrior, which doesn't hold up. This held up. Just a fantastic film.
I had never seen it all before. I had seen parts of it, and I'd heard so much about the other parts that I thought I had seen it all, but I had not. And it's unreal. It's perfect.
It is a perfect film.
It is a perfect film. Not one camera angle could have been better than what it was.
No. We'll get into that in a minute, though. Let's get into the SmackDown show first to get the miserable stuff out of the way.
We'll get it out of the way.
I mean, seriously, SmackDown could not even begin to compare with Bloodsport.
No.
It could not.
In any way.
Well, talk about it a little bit. I'll let you open it up. Yeah.
This is going to sound very weird, but there was a lot of pro wrestling on this pro wrestling show. There was a lot of long matches.
Actually, now that you mention that, this was actually, I was just turned off by the last 2 minutes or so of SmackDown. It left a bad taste in my mouth. But looking back, it had two pretty darn good little matches on it.
Yeah.
And I would also like to interrupt you right now by saying I can hear the VCR rewinding Bloodsport, because in fact the DVD we got from Tony did not work. We had to run down to the damn video store. They didn't have it on DVD. So we bought the VHS, or we rented it, for 99 cents.
Oh, yes.
And the funny thing was, the girl that was at the front counter, she was sort of tall, and she had a ponytail, and she had these glasses. Kind of just your average, hope she ain't listening, but goofy, nerdy girl, you know what I mean? And I hand the Bloodsport to her, and I thought, God, this chick's going to just be appalled at what I'm renting here tonight. So I gave her my card, because I thought it was going to be $3.99, and she goes, it's $1.08. So I'm digging around in my pocket for change. So I'm digging around, I glance up, and she's carefully reading the back of the box. Like she's intrigued by this film.
I'm going to do that later. But
okay, well, go get it right now so you don't forget.
Okay.
And while we're waiting for Vince, we'll just play a little something here for you.
I'm not even curious. I don't care who wins. We can skip it on Sunday now for all I care. Or I guess it's a week from Sunday.
No, we can't.
I know, but
It's SCB Day, Super Craig Buffet. You think I'm joking?
No, I just hadn't thought of it.
There's going to be some food at Craig's house.
What a shock. Perhaps he'll break out his deep fryer.
No, he's going to break out the pizza, I think.
Even better.
Yeah, I'll always have to bring a little bit of extra money, so make sure you
pass it on to the...
mow some lawns, collect your allowance, that sort of thing, do a little babysitting. We need you to have some cash over there so we can, have a good time.
Yeah, because I often don't have cash.
You often don't.
Well, I guess for Craig, sometimes I forget.
Yes.
I'll have it for Mania.
That's good. So, let's get on to the Bloodsport review here, because I'm done with SmackDown. It depressed me. I think it ground the show to a halt. Such a thing as possible. And really, I think before we go on, we need a little bit of something to perk up our spirits.
What?
Whoever made that drop, you cut it off at an awkward time, but yeah. That's what he thinks of Warrior. He's a lesbian.
A Warrior he was talking
He was
about.
a piece of shit.
Wow. Sheiky gets very irate. Let's get moving here, Vince.
He was a lesbian and he was gay. Bloodsport. As I was saying, I thought I had seen this film before, and I had not, and after watching it now, I can safely say it's the finest cinema I've ever seen.
It
is a great, great, great movie.
Go ahead and read the back.
I'm going to read the back here. This may take a while. It's kind of wordy, but this is the VHS copy of Bloodsport, based on a true story, it says. And on the back, there's a picture of Van Damme doing his split-legged kata thing in the sunlight.
Von Damme.
Yeah.
It's not Rob Van.
Are you a martial arts fan? An action fan? Then you'll be a Bloodsport fan, too. Bloodsport is the movie that takes you where few have ever gone. Inside the hidden Hong Kong arena, where elite combatants clash in the Kumite, which is how everyone in the movie said it. The little-known but hotly contested world championship...
Why did you say that? Were you going to say the Kumite?
No, I was going to say Kumte, which is how, I don't know, I don't know if it's right. They may be right.
Where did you get that?
In the song. In the song at the end where they're all singing Kumte, which sounds cooler. Okay, you disagree with me. The little-known but hotly contested world championship of full contact fighting. No Westerner had ever won the single elimination battle royal tournament. That's what it says. Single elimination battle royal tournament until the arrival of an iron-willed American. His name, Frank Dukes. His story, Bloodsport, a thrilling, true-life triumph of bedrock courage, uncanny skill, and unflinching loyalty. Starring as Dukes, and I'm reading here directly from the box. That's Dukes, as in put 'em up, is Jean-Claude Van Damme, a handsome strongman, previously cast as a villain in No Retreat, No Surrender.
Handsome strongman?
Handsome
I
strongman.
don't care you be Sophia Loren. I don't care you be the prettiest woman in the earth. I cannot sleep with you anymore. I cannot have sex with you anymore.
She's telling it like it is, baby.
Oh, God. Van Damme's first headlining role is perfect for his appealing mix of physique, charm, and martial arts expertise.
That's right.
Perfect, too, is the film's colorful gallery of supporting players. Donald Gibb is Dukes' pal, a beefy beer-swigging warrior. Leah Ayres, I guess, is
How's it spelled?
Ayres.
Sure. Ayres?
Yeah.
Ayres?
Sure. Leah Ayres is the Moxie reporter determined to file a story on the secret championship that's like, quote, a cockfight except with people.
That's right. 1987, kids.
Yes.
20 years before its time.
And veteran actor Roy Chow is the ailing mentor Dukes has vowed to honor with a Kumite victory. Bloodsport pulses with the excitement of one-on-one competition and the drive of a man who refuses to lose. Because when Von Damme's Dukes steps onto the mat, Bloodsport isn't just a sport. It's a war.
Wow.
Oh, yes. That is classic stuff. That really is the movie. It's accurate. It's a scary thing.
What to say about this film? What's the plot? It's a man, Frank Dukes, based on a real man, Frank Dukes, who in fact was working as the consultant for Mr. Von Damme on the making of this film. Played a role. And I guess, what the hell was the story? He was going to fight in this thing called the Kumite.
It was an underground fighting tournament, and he was going to fight in it and win it.
Every 5 years in Hong Kong, there was a Kumite. And he was a member of the U.S. military, and the 5 years came along, so it was time to go to Hong Kong. So he went AWOL.
Yeah.
So they found the two most inept government agents ever seen in any film to go get him back. And they armed them with tasers.
Tasers.
Sure, tasers.
In 1987, these tasers, you could have clubbed a horse over the head with it. It would have been more effective.
It was the size of like a toaster.
They reached into their jacket for these concealed tasers and pulled out these 17-pound blocks.
It is kind of. I was wondering where those tasers were in their jackets. They were just
One of these incompetent agents, by the way, was Forrest Whitaker, who was an actor who has gone on to some fame. This is not his peak.
Some fame in what?
Don't insult my intelligence!
What fame would that be?
He's done other movies. Name one other actor besides Von Damme in that movie you've ever seen again.
No one, but I want to know what fame Forrest Whitaker has had.
I think he was in Ready to Wear. He was
Never heard of it.
He's not Tom Cruise. He's not a box office star, but he's been around. Look him up on IMDb. He's been in stuff. I'm trying to remember what movie he played a retard in.
A retard.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we don't have any retards listening to this show where they're going to be greatly insulted that you have said such a thing about them. I'm looking it up right now.
I'm one of them.
Hey, you are. Forrest, how do you spell it? Like Forrest Griffin?
I think 1 R.
Well, we'll soon find out. It is 2 R's, like I thought.
Perfect.
Let's look at Forrest Whitaker's... I thought at least the white guy would have been Forrest Whitaker.
No,
it was the black guy?
It's the black guy.
He was not very impressive in this film.
No, I didn't. I mentioned that.
The white guy was a far superior actor. Let's look at some of the big films that Forrest Whitaker has been in. Different Strokes.
Wow.
Tag, The Assassination Game.
There's a classic.
Hill Street Blues. Fast Times at Ridgemont High in 1982.
Wow, he's been around a lot longer than I thought then.
Platoon, The Color of Money. I guess those are a couple of big films right there.
Why, yes, they are.
Fuck you. Body Snatchers, The Crying Game. A Rage in Harlem. Phenomenon.
That was the one.
Oh, that was the one you remembered out of all those that I mentioned, Platoon and such. You remembered Phenomenon.
Yes.
Must have been a geek film.
I
Admit it.
No, it was not a geek film. It was when I was working at the Shoreline Community College newspaper, they sent us a giant press kit and passes. And at the time, it was like the first time I got to see a movie for free. It was a big deal.
Oh, Jesus.
Movie was no good, but
Deacons for Defense.
that I do not know.
How about this one? Rebound, The Legend of Earl the Goat Manigault.
I am not familiar with either.
Yeah, that's the kind of filmography we've got here for Forrest Whitaker. Anyway, go on. I was going on, sorry. So they recruited these guys to go find him, and anyway, he showed up there, and there's a big ogre-looking dude. It was Ogre.
It was Ogre, wasn't it? I think so.
Yeah, from Revenge of the Nerds, which actually I have never seen.
I've seen parts of it.
Think about that.
Yeah.
So anyway, he was there. Then there was this hot blonde that was a reporter who actually was not that hot, given usual hot blonde 80s chicks. She was at the low end of the scale, I think. But
That's probably fair.
so anyway, here's what I got to say about this film in hindsight. When I first watched it, I thought it was great. I watched it so many times, I have the whole thing memorized. I still pretty much had the whole thing memorized when I watched it here 15 years later. I do recall that when I first watched it, I thought Frank Dukes was the buffest dude I ever saw. I thought, my God, he's the strongest man in the world. This was before I saw The Ultimate Warrior. And this was before I saw men jacked to the gills on growth hormone, juice, the whole 9 yards. He's a fit man.
Mm-hmm.
He is not nearly as large as I remembered.
I don't think he's the buffest guy in the movie.
No, well, I mean...
Chong Li's bigger.
Chong Li's bigger, but Chong Li's big and fat.
I see.
He's sort of bloated, you know what I mean? Frank Dukes or Jean-Claude, he's ripped to shreds.
Yes.
He did have that going for him, so... He, he may have been on something or other around that period of time, but not a whole lot of it. But, Chong Li, played by Aaron Bolo, the wrestler for Pinnacle, he,
I didn't pass the medicine test again.
Yes, so,
Yeah.
that's the story there. But anyway, they had this Kumite and Ogre. He fought for a while, and he got beaten by Chong Li. He got a stomp to the head, and he was debilitated, sent to the hospital. And so Frank said he was going to win the Kumite for him, and for his sensei, who was very, very sick, I guess. Or actually, sensei was in bed when Frank Dukes... He may have just been hungover. It was never explained.
That's entirely possible.
He didn't look particularly ill. So Frank said he was going to win the Kumite for Ogre and his sensei, and so off he went, and the reporter, however, she went down with this human cockfighting. She went to the cops, and I guess gave the location of the Kumite, so the cops told the government agents where Frank was going to be at. They went to arrest him at the Kumite. He easily escaped their clutches.
He toyed with them, actually.
He toyed with them.
He taunted them.
He actually beat up 3 armed guards while carrying his gym bag.
Mm-hmm.
And then he used a trash can lid to reverse the tasers into 2 more guards, and then just grabbed the tasers.
That scene was so awesome.
So anyway, after he'd totally outdone the government agents for about the 3rd time, they'd also played a game of tag earlier in the movie. So he'd finally outdone them and everything like that. The chick just happened to show up at this exact moment. So Frank goes in to fight, and the 3 of them just decide, what the fuck?
They give up.
They went and got front row seats.
Yes.
Watched Kumite. At which point they got into it, and the girl who had totally freaked out the night before was now clapping and cheering and giving the Google eyes to young Frank Dukes.
Yes.
I thought there was 20 minutes of time missing from this plot, but in fact it's just Bloodsport. There was no
That's
time.
the correct answer. It is just Bloodsport.
There was no time missing whatsoever. So I got to play a drop here real quick because I don't know what this is.
Hope there aren't any kids listening.
Okay, sorry about that. I see these things. It's my obsessive-compulsive disorder, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I got to see what that goddamn drop says when I don't understand. So anyway, Frank goes, and of course the main event is Frank Dukes versus Chong Li. And Frank's running wild at the beginning, and then Chong Li gets the heat by throwing salt in his eyes.
He used a foreign object.
And Frank ends up hulking up, and they save the high spots for the end of the fight, these jumping, spinning, splits kicks, which probably Kung Lee in San Jose never threw in his whole life.
There was also some lucha.
There was some lucha. Leapfrogs.
Leapfrog, a somersault for no reason.
That's right. And Frank won, and that was the end of the movie. Oh, and then he said goodbye to his rat.
He did. He
was like, see you, baby. Maybe next time we'll fuck again.
When I'm here to fight again in 5 years, we'll hook up.
That's right. You know, the other thing, there were a couple things about this movie. The main reason we watch this movie, everybody, is we all know what real fighting is now.
Yes.
We all know, what happens.
This movie could not be made in 2005.
Oh, it could.
Or 2006.
It could. But it would be exactly like Bloodsport. It would be goofy comedy.
I see.
It could not be taken seriously in 2006. But they're making Bloodsport 2, you jackass. Perhaps you'd forgotten. With Fedor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you didn't know this?
I probably did.
Do you even read the newsletter?
Would I write, yeah. Oh, calm down.
I'm canceling your online subscription. You don't read the fucking newsletter?
Yes, I read the newsletter.
Really?
Yes. I just forgot about Bloodsport 2.
I'm going to quiz you next week on this show, and if you fail, I swear to Christ, I'll cancel your account. You can just fuck around and...
I defend your newsletter. I'm the one who says people say they don't read it, and I yell at them.
Yeah, but it doesn't do any good if you don't read the goddamn thing yourself and everybody knows it.
I do read it. I just forgot this one detail.
Right.
Well, I'm not reading it anymore. I did read it. Now I'm done.
Dare you?
Don't read anyone.
Read the newsletter. I need a drop here, something like that, before I flip my lid. Besides, I lost my train of thought.
Very irritable tonight.
Bryan is sexy.
I feel a little bit better now. Yes, they're making Bloodsport 2, goddammit, with Fedor.
Wow.
No, now you're supposed to go, yeah, I just read about that in your newsletter.
I just read about that in Figure 4 Weekly 2 weeks ago.
You know what? We're going to have a little fun right now before we get on with this review here.
Why start now?
Oh, yeah, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to do a quiz.
All right.
A newsletter quiz for this week. If you pass, I will feel better. If you fail, I don't know how I might react. So you might as well admit it now. Have you read this week's newsletter?
I have.
You have read this newsletter?
Yes.
All right.
I may take a dive, though. Maybe more fun.
Oh, no. That would not be fun for you if you took a dive tonight, Vince. The cover story was regarding the Saturday night's main event show. What was my conclusion for the time slot it will have next time?
Later, the SNL time slot, 11 to 12 or somewhere around there.
So far, so good, Vince. I did a on-the-road live ass-kicking. What was the show?
The Super Mall show, the Pride Amateur fights, and your conclusion was that it went too long.
What was the funniest part of the review?
I'm trying to think of anywhere you made fun of me in there. The funniest part of the review. Well, I don't recall anything funny in it, actually, but...
You don't recall anything funny in the review?
Oh, you call me a pussy.
Okay, you're right. Good. So
You
far,
go.
so good. All right, we're just going to skip forward a little bit here because I'm convinced that you read the main stories. I'm pretty sure you read the WWE and the TNA because you're interested in that sort of stuff. So I'm going to quiz you here on some MMA stuff in the newsletter this week. I have a feeling you're going to fail.
I did read this, and it's entirely possible I may fail.
You did read this, you say.
I did read this.
All right. There is a boxer suing another boxer for what reason?
Because he cut weight to fight and was significantly heavier than the guy. Something about weight cutting.
That is close enough.
Okay.
All right, fine, Vince. I feel much better now. I'm convinced that you did, in fact, read this week's newsletter, so you are greatly forgiven. How much I love these men. You could have any other two men. And if you actually had two other men, it would be even more perfect. That should have actually had your name in there.
Where?
Somewhere in there, because it's supposed to be, I was showing my love for you there, Vinny.
I see.
So anyway, where were we? The point we reviewed Bloodsport, and the reason we were talking earlier about Bloodsport 2, the reason I reviewed this whole damn thing, I'm starting to sound like the Iron Sheik here with the mumbling and that sort of thing. And,
Don't insult my intelligence!
Sorry, Sheik. So, the reason we reviewed this is because everyone knows what real fighting is now, and this was what people thought real fighting was in 1987. And the interesting thing was there were some similarities. There was a man who looked remarkably like Matt Hume, who was doing Muay Thai, and he went along fairly well in this little tournament here. There was, different disciplines and that sort of thing. The key to the movie, really, that I got out of it was all the fighters seemed to be one-dimensional fighters. There was the man who did monkey jiu-jitsu or whatever, the monkey man.
There was a sumo guy.
He was my friends' favorite when they watched the movie when they were young. They all remembered the guy who did the monkey jiu-jitsu or whatever the hell he was doing. There was the sumo guy. There were the Bushido karate guys. There was the... Anyway, the point was, Frank Sensei said, you must know all disciplines.
That's true, actually.
That was the key. That's
I
why
hadn't thought about this until right now.
He was the first Ultimate Fighter.
He was the first multi-dimensional fighter.
That's right. That's why he won the Kumite.
I hadn't thought about that until right now, but you're right.
I'm a genius.
You are a genius. You find the logic in that film.
That's right.
Which is amazing.
That is, and it was hard to find because they sure didn't point that out to you. So, and then you had the American bar fighter, Tank Abbott. He got his ass whooped, basically, after two stunning knockouts, much like the real Tank Abbott. This movie was ahead of its time.
You're making some great points here.
This movie was phenomenally ahead of its time, and I think it's a vastly underrated film. It's a great film for camp. It's a fun film. The karate sequences are fantastic. Some of them.
For what they are.
Some of them are wacky, but it's good stuff.
It was great stuff. We didn't even talk about the Asian stereotype assistant they had. Well,
there were a lot of stereotypes.
Well,
the black guy did the monkey jiu-jitsu.
There was the black guy did the monkey jiu-jitsu, but
the fat Asian did sumo. The skinny Asian did karate.
I'm not even talking about the fighter. I'm talking about the short, mulleted, giant glasses, buck-toothed Asian guy who showed them around Hong Kong.
Yes.
He was the ultimate walking stereotype.
Well,
and he had a sweet mullet.
He sort of was. And they also had some money promos.
There were some money promos.
They had some money promos. They had some taunting.
There's a lot of... Everyone worked the crowd.
After Chong Li beat up Jackson, who was Ogre, he stole his bandana. And he basically said, you want this fucker's bandana, you have to go through me. That was that.
The only thing I really didn't like about this movie is that they talk about how Chong Li had killed a man in the last Kumite. He kicked him in the throat, and he died on the mat, and Chong Li watched him die. So then later, he stomps on Jackson's head, leaves him in a pool of his own blood, steals the bandana, and the next thing you see is Jackson's in the hospital. They're saying, you'll be okay, you'll be out in a week.
Why didn't you like that?
He should have been dead.
No, Chong Li killed another man later.
Yeah, but they
even explained it.
Well, he actually, right, he did kill another man later. I forgot about that.
Yes, and Jackson was like Mark Hunt. They even said, you've got a head like cement.
They did say that.
So he survived the Vanderlei Silva stomp to the head.
Okay.
So all makes perfect sense, Vince.
Well, it does now. You explained it to me.
Good God, what movie were you watching? And the other key here is the rules of the Kumite. There were 3 rules, which I'm actually going to read to you here. I should note that the Kumite had one more rule than the early UFCs, so there you go. Although the Kumite did allow jumping into the splits and uppercutting a man in the balls.
Oh, yes.
That was not outlawed. So anyway, the rules for the cockfight, except with people, were where the hell are they here? I just read this whole goddamn thing and I can't find it.
There's only 3 of them and you don't remember?
I want to read it because there's a reason. I wrote them all down very specifically.
You have a search function on there.
Vince, it's a 500-word document. I can just look for it.
Okay.
Talk about something.
No, I won't talk about you looking for this for your...
Any other road stories, perhaps of that nature? Perhaps it may have involved you.
I got one as close to homosexuality as you can get.
Still looking?
I went, Vince, I came here for you to fuck me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? He's a big guy. And, I mean, with a heart on. Between me and you, we're about together the size of Vince, and it was brutal, right? And
Wow.
I'm sitting there with a load of jizz in my hand.
That is true.
What was that?
The road will own you.
The road will own you, Vince.
Oh, yes.
Shiki doesn't like the... I found the rules.
Oh, good.
There's 3 of them. You can knock your opponent out. You can make the man quit by saying mate. Or you can, quote, throw the fucker off the runway. That was the 3rd way to win.
Yes.
So the key was the whole movie was filled with men throwing fuckers off the runway and knocking them out. And then finally at the end, Frank Dukes made the big mean Chong Li say mate.
Oh, yes.
That was the end.
And it ended.
Yeah, it was a fine film.
I loved it. It made me happy.
This
I couldn't stop smiling at one point.
This review we did tonight does not do justice to the review that I have written, nor does it do justice to the actual film.
More importantly, it does not do justice to the actual
which
film.
is far superior to the reviews in print and in real life. So I suggest everybody right now go out to your local video store and rent Bloodsport. You will thank us for it.
We haven't even talked about the music yet.
Well, I figured I'd leave that for you because
This music was so awesome.
you are an 80s music mark.
If ordinarily I would never ask this question, but if anyone can come through with this, I know our board can.
God.
If anyone out there can hook me up with the Bloodsport soundtrack, you will have a friend for life. For life. Just every cheesy 80s movie song you ever heard. And I'm sitting there watching the credits, listening to the Kumite song, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this sounds like Stan Bush, who is only famous. The only thing he's ever done that's famous is he did the Transformers soundtrack.
Oh, my
And I'm sitting there watching
God,
it,
you're a geek.
and the credits roll, and sure enough, it's Stan Bush. So Stan Bush has done 2 things in his life. He has done Transformers, and he has done Bloodsport.
The goofiness it oozes from you
Oh,
sometimes.
God. I can't help but be me.
You know, it's funny because I watched the soundtrack is perfect for the movie.
Yes.
And I love the songs watching the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I do not need a soundtrack of these songs.
I demand I want these songs to play as I'm driving down the hot freeway.
That explains so much about you, Vince.
This is good stuff. I need a big pair of just giant sunglasses. Yeah. Just a fantastic film.
You're such a geek.
Oh, yes.
You know that?
Yes.
Well, at least you know, you know?
I'm perfectly aware. I tried not to be for a while and it didn't work out.
Well,
I just embrace it.
That's good. That's really all you can do is just embrace your absolute goofiness. And to want the soundtrack to the movie Bloodsport, I cannot think of anything dorkier than that. Except if you actually put out a request on the board for the soundtrack to the Transformers movie, I don't know what I'd do. And don't even do it, Vince. Just don't do it. Thank you.
I'll drop it.
Kids, tomorrow is the Pinnacle Pro Wrestling Show. If you're going to be in the area, we want you out there. I'll be there. Vince is going to be there. Craig's going to be there. Craig's bringing 2 of his wacky friends.
Is Bernard going to be there?
Buddy Wayne is going to be there. No, Bernard is not going to be there. Bernard loves WWE. That's it. He doesn't like UFC. He doesn't like Pride. He
let's
doesn't
lie
like
to him.
indie grappling.
Well, tell him Cena's going to be there.
Okay, let's call him. You lie to Bernard. You go call Bernard and tell him that some WWE stars are going to be there.
I don't have his number.
You see what happens at the end of the show. Bernard whips your ass.
He would have fun.
Puts you in the camel clutch.
And he would not do that.
Probably would.
I don't think Bernard would do that.
No, he wouldn't. Craig might. You really think about it. If any of our friends were actually going to put us in the camel clutch, break our back, and then fuck our ass, who do you think it would be? I'm just stunned.
I plead the Fifth Amendment.
I am stunned at the drop that is going to be made. I'm looking at it now. Oops. But who do you think it would be?
I plead the Fifth Amendment.
And you know what's funny about this is Craig is going to be so irate.
Oh, yes.
that we said this, that he's going to show up tomorrow.
Suplex us.
Suplex him, put him in the camel clutch, break his back, and then fuck his ass.
Craig, we love you.
The best part about that, I shouldn't say the best part, but something I've noticed, you don't notice it the first time, but every time you listen to that, there's something else to laugh at. It's the way he puts the emphasis on the word then.
Yeah.
When he says then fuck his ass. Because you must suplex them, then put him in the camel clutch, then break his back, and then fuck your ass. Yes. There's a procedure to this kind of thing.
Sure.
There's an order of events that must be carried out. And
Sure.
to do anything else would be a major social faux pas.
Well, you can't do it any other way. You would have to break the man's back first. And in order to break his back, you'd have to put him in the camel clutch.
You don't have to break his back to fuck him in the ass.
Sure you do. You'd have to break my back to do it. I don't know about you. Good God.
Just pointing out.
We've learned something new about Vince today. You do not have to break his back first. Jesus.
If Tank Abbott, if Iron Sheik came over. No, never mind.
Yes? No, go ahead. I want to hear this one.
Are you telling me that unless your back, if your back was fully healed, you could fight off any man alive?
No, but I'd sure as hell try. You'd have to fucking break my back first.
You would try. If Mirko Cro Cop wanted to fuck you in the ass, you wouldn't have to break your back to do it.
No, he would. I'd keep fighting until I was incapacitated.
How about Fedor?
I would keep fighting until he'd broken my back. Especially Fedor. He's even larger. There's potential for more damage with the man.
Thank God for the Iron Sheik.
I think it's time to wrap this show up here. Kids, I want to thank everybody for listening. For those of you that are still listening to what has become just a... I don't even know what to say about this show here.
Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Vince.
Thank you, Sheik.
Thank you, Sheik.
Yeah, kids, I just want to say thank you for listening, and we will be back on Monday with a brand new Figure 4 Daily with the man who interviewed the Iron Sheik. And as we're closing out the music today, I'm just going to leave you with one more drop from Sheiky Baby. His thoughts on the state of politics in the year 2006.
I respect your country president, Mr. Bush, to send the people over there and they get even with that devil, Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was another killer like Hitler, like Osama bin Laden. I never respect the Iraqi. I never respect the Saddam Hussein. And I didn't like even General Adnan to be my courtier or to be my manager. I have a pride.
Yeah, she got a phonograph, and it won't sell on